All right, welcome back. This is going to be my second video in this two-part series, I guess, if you can call it a series. Last time, if you haven't checked out the first video, please do. It's all about how to archive a digital book in just a few lines of Python. And basically what we did is we created a nice small little program that will go through and take screenshots of every page of a digital book. We did that last time in the other video. And we're going to pick up from there for the next video. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to take all those separate images and we're going to stack them side by side, and then another set underneath, another set underneath, and we're going to create chapters that are one complete image. So it's one image that's a full chapter, and we're going to be able to just pull that right into OneNote, and so then we can have all the chapters of our book in OneNote, where we can do all the highlighting and marking and adding notes and things, just like you would do with a physical book, with a real book, open side by side. So that's what we're going to do. This one's going to be a little bit more complicated than the last one. I'm threading the line here between simplicity and making something a little bit more complete. So I'm hopefully landing a bit in the middle here with today's video. So we are going to start by creating a new Python file, and we're going to call this one page stitch. .py. And I don't think we're going to need any more libraries than we did from last time. So last time we pulled in pillow. We're going to need that one. I think that's the only one we're going to need from here. So let me go ahead and make this a little bigger, but not too big, because we're going to take up a lot of space on the screen. Today we're going to be making a main program, and then we're going to be creating a class in another file, just a helper class that'll have all the stuff. So we'll kind of have two files we're working on side by side here. So we are going to start with a while loop here. So we're going to say proceed equals true to start. We're going to do a while loop. And what we're doing is we're going to be interfacing with the user a little bit, asking for what they want the chapter to be named. So if it's like an index part of the book, or a preface part of the book, or the glossary, or maybe it's a chapter 1, chapter 2. We're asking the user for that. We're going to ask the user what page numbers the chapter encompasses, so we can know. And I think that's all we're going to do from the user back and forth. We'll be doing a little bit of checking, make sure that the files are actually there, it's not throwing any errors or crashing out. Just make it a little bit complete here for the user. But so we're going to say while proceed. So then that's just true now. So we're going to keep proceeding until we turn that off. It's just like a switch for us. And then this is where we're going to create our class, and we're going to jump right into creating a separate class. So we're going to call this Stitcher, and we are going to create a new instance of a Stitcher class. So, but we don't have a Stitcher class yet, so we're going to go ahead and create one. So in a separate file, we are going to go ahead and create a new Python file called, I don't know, what did I call this? Stitch helper. ch and HEL.py. All right, and we're going to open this side by side in Visual Studio Code here, because it's really handy. We can just do that. So we're just going to be working back and forth between the two. So the whole idea of creating a separate class for this is that we're just going to keep all the functions, all the logic over here, and then we're just going to have all the user interface stuff and just calling those functions in the main file here. So that's what we're going to do. In our helper function, or helper class, we're going to need some things here too. But we're going to start off with, we're going to say class Stitcher, okay? And we're going to need some things for this class right off the bat. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to define an init method. So it's a dunder init. That is just it's a setup class for Python. For a Python class, it's our setup function. Sorry. And what we're going to want to do is when we instantiate this class, we're going to want the class to go out and figure out what all files that we have on hand right now. So we're going to need a few different modules to do that. We're going to need the OS module. We're going to import the list dir, so list directory. I'm just going to go ahead and get all my imports done now. We're going to need all these things later. So we're going to need the system module. Oops. From syst, we're going to import exit because we're going to need to cancel out if we have some problems later. We're going to do a little math today, not too much though. We're going to import ceiling and floor so we can do some rounding here with math. And then from PIL, again, that's our pillow library, we're going to import, in this case, image this time, and we're going to use that later as well. So the very first thing I want to do when I instantiate this Stitcher class is I want it to find all of those images that we had in our file. So all the ones the screenshots of all the pages that we had made from the previous video using our book archiver program. So we're going to need to go ahead and you're going to use that list dir on this. So we're going to say self, and we're going to say file names. We're going to get, all those file names, and that is going to be equal to list dir and the pages, the pages folder. So what we're doing is in the pages folder here, it has all of our screenshots for all the book pages. So I'm going to get all the file names from the pages folder. That's what this is doing. And then I'm going to need to sort them because just in case they're out of order or something's kind of goofy, we're going to need to sort that list right off the bat. So we're just to be sure. So we're going to say self file name, and we're going to do sort, and sort is going to take a function in order to sort with. So if we just sorted it like this, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to give us the results that we want. We want to be able to sort it so that it's page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and on and on. If we just ran sort on this now, it would give us back page 1, page 10, page 100, maybe 11. I don't know. It doesn't sort it the way you would want it to be sorted. So we're gonna have to fix that. We're gonna have to give it just a little bit of function, a little function that's gonna allow us to sort it the way we want it to be sorted. So we're gonna jump down. We're gonna create that now, and then we'll plug it back into the sort call at next. So we're gonna say sort key because that's what we want. It's going to take self, as all these things do, and it's going to take just anything. It's going to take whatever it's going to get passed in to the sort key. So this one, it's really simple. So we're just going to do a return, right? And then we'll say P, and we're going to slice this string. So it's getting a string. That's going to be the page names, or the file names, sorry. And if you notice, they're all named in a very similar format. Page number.jpg. So we are going to return a sliced version of that. So we're going to go slice starting at 4, and then we're going to go to slice it to -4. Oops, not 43. Don't go that far. So what's this doing? This is saying start at position 4. So after page, we're going to start here, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to cut off the back side of that string as well. So that .jpg. So we're going to take both of those out, and then whatever's left is going to be returned to us, which will be a string representation of I. So we're going to have to convert that to a number in order to sort it, because you can't sort on strings properly, which is the whole problem in the first place. So we're going to cast that to an int. Okay, hopefully you're still following along with that. So what we can do is we can say sort key equals, sort key, I believe this is how we can, nope, self, nope, sorry. self dot sort key. Okay. So what that's going to do is that for every name in this list, it's going to pass it to this function, and that's going to return a number that represents the page number, and then it's going to sort on that. So that's the way that works. So now we have, and sort works on the file name. It sorts in place, so you don't have to return it to another list that you copy. It's just in place. So now we've got that one sorted. And what can we do next? Well, over here, let's just jump back. We're going to just jump back and forth all day here on these. So we are going to import Stitch helper. And we're going to say, let's do a little bit different. We're going to do from Stitch helper, we're going to import Stitcher. There. Now we can create the instance of Stitcher. Now, right now, it's, it doesn't really do anything other than when we instantiate Stitcher, it's going to get all the file names, and it's going to sort them. That's all that we've done so far. So a lot of this, there isn't much to test as we go. It's going to just be a lot of just plowing through the code, and then we'll do some testing at the end there. So what are we going to need next? We're going to need a little input from the user, and we want to know what they want the chapter to be called. Again, they could call it the preface, they could call it the glossary, but they also could call it chapter 1 or whatever. So we're going to say chapter number. We're going to get that from the user. We're going to say input. Okay. And then we're just going to say, whoops, that's not. What is the name of this chapter? And I like to do a little end line return and then a little fakey prompt. I just think that looks nice. I always like to do my prompts that way. All right. So, and now, here's where I like to add built in a little bit of nicety. So we're going to need the page number next. So we've got the chapter number from the user. Now we're going to need the page number for the user. I want to check to see that the page number that they say is there actually exists. So we're going to create a little function over here that we can call to prompt the user and reprompt the user if the chapter that they said is there, or the page that they said is there, isn't actually there. So we're going to say prompt for, what do we call this? Prompt for page. Whoops. And take self, as these things always do. It's going to take, sorry, I'm following along with my notes here. We are going to have to find out if they are going to prompt us for the first page or the last page. So this is kind of a generic function. We can kind of use this for two different things. So position, this is just going to be a variable, and that's going to represent a string that'll just be, say, first or last. So is it the first page in the chapter or the last page in the chapter? Anyway, and then the chapter number that we got from the user just a bit ago. Chapter number. Okay. Now what we're going to do here with this guy is we're going to say, we're going to do a while loop in here, because if they put in something wrong, we don't want the program to just crash out and be done. Let's allow them to correct it if they fat fingered something, because I do that a fair bit. So, all right, so number, and this is going to be equal to the input, and we're gonna say, we're gonna do an F string. We're gonna say, please, please enter the, and then this is where we're going to put position. Okay, so it'll say like first. Please enter the first page of, let's close that up, get a little more space. First page of, and then we want the chapter number of chapter, and then we'll do chapter number. All right, so we will do that. New line, little fakey prompt. All right, let's see if we can keep this all on the screen here. Yeah, there we go. So we're prompting the user. We're going to say, please enter the position. So please enter the first page of the chapter, blah, 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 chapter whatever. So we're going to pass that information to the user. It looks a little nicer when you can put position and chapter number, some additional information. All right, so now we're going to say if self dot, and then we're going to need another function here as well. And we're going to call it check. And we haven't made this one yet, but check for file. So we're going to create a function to check for the file for us. Okay. And we are going to check for fstring, and it's just going to be page, because that's how they're all named. Number. Okay, and that's coming in as a string, so that should work. Dot JPG. All right, so if, and our function is going to return true or false if it exists, we're going to return the number that we got back. So it'd be like page 10. So it's going to return page 10. Now, number comes in as a string, so we're going to have to cast that to int because we want that as an int later. Now, if it doesn't exist, so if it doesn't find this this file, we're going to say else. We're going to print, and we're going to say fstring. Sorry user. Page number does not exist. Sorry, page number does not exist. Please try again. All right, and so basically this whole prompt function here, it's just going to keep repeating this over and over. Please enter the chapter number. If the chapter number exists, it's going to return, and it's going to go out of that loop. Otherwise, it's just going to keep repeating. It's going to say, hey, no, that's not right. Please try again. Please try again. So, but now we need something that's going to check for the file, right? So we're going to say check. This is the one we need to build now. Check for file. All right, check for file is going to take self, as these always do, and name. Check for file. This one's going to be pretty easy. So we already have a list of names, self file name, and it's already sorted really nice. Not that it matters here, but so if name is in self.file name, so we're calling the self.file name. It's the file name in this instance of the class. We're going to return true. Really simple. Oh, unless we spelled it wrong. Return true. Okay. Or if that's not right, we're just going to return false. Oops. So there's no reason to do an else in here. It's either in this file name, the name we pass is either in this file name and we return true, or otherwise we're going to return false. Real simple. So this is complete now. I'm going to double space all these, a little easier to read. So it's going to run our check. Does that file exist? It's going to call this function and pass this string. So if that string is found in the file name list, then we return true. Otherwise not, and then we keep prompting for the correct page. So that's just a little sanity check just to say, hey, they're not asking for a page that isn't here. So that should be good. Now over here, we can go ahead and start implementing or start using these functions. We're going to say, what, first page? That's what we call? Yep. First page, what am I doing? First page is going to be equal to Stitcher dot prompt for page, and it's going to be asking for looks like a chapter any and return in. So okay, so we want to add position. That's what we want. So this one we're going to say first, and chapter number is going to be from chapter number that we just got back. All right, that'll give us our first page from the user. So the user can tell us what the first page of the chapter is, and we can actually use this exact same thing for the last chapter. So last page is going to be equal to, I'm going to just copy this whole daggone thing, except this time we're going to say last page. And that's it. So it's going to prompt them, it'll keep prompting them, and then when they give a good response, it's going to save that back to that variable there. So okay, now we're going to need to create a list. We're going to create a list of all the file names that are only the ones that are between the first and last pages. So we're just going to have it's a subset of the file name list. And then we're going to create that so that we can just do the ones that we want for that individual chapter. So we're going to say define get, what are we going to call this? Pages list. Okay, list of all the pages, and these are the file names of what we're going to be doing. We're going to say self, we're going to say first, we're going to say last. And the first and last, those are the page numbers that we get back from the user. Now we're going to create, let's create an empty list. So we're going to call it chapter page list. Yeah, let's call it chapter page list. It's just an empty list for now. Now let's go ahead and create a loop. So we're going to fill this thing up with things. So for page num in range, so we're going to do a range of first to last. We're going to do last plus 1 though, because the range is not inclusive, so that last number we always need to go 1 past so that we get them all. Page num in range first to last plus 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to say file name equals, and we're going to create a file name here. So we're going to f-string this, we're going to say page. Okay, page num. All right, dot jpg. Okay, so it's creating a file name out of the page number. And then we're going to say chapter page list dot append the file name. All right, so we're just going to go through, and for everything between first and last, we're going to add that file name that we created here to the chapter page list. So, and we're going to return the chapter page list when we're all done. Okay, so that's going to get our page list, page number list. So let's go back over to our main file here that we're working on, and we're going to get that page number list. We're going to create it. So page number list is going to be equal to Stitcher dot get page list. Again, we're going to supply it with the first we got from the user. First page, sorry. First page, last page. All right. And that's going to build our list for us that we're going to need. Now we're going to need to know how many pages are in that list. So let's say number or num pages. Okay. Because how many pages the chapter has is going to determine how big of an image that we're going to need to create. So we're going to need to know how many pages are in this list. So we're going to say len of page number list. That's going to get us how many pages are in that list, and then the chapter size. This is one we're going to have to create as well. Actually, let's go do that first. Let's go create a function to create the chapter size. Now, chapter size is going to be just a little bit trickier. So we're going to say get chapter size, but we're getting all the information as we go. We're kind of just building here. So chapter size, it's going to take self, as these always do, and we're going to do page count. All right, so the number of pages that are in here. All right, so what we're going to need to figure out, we need to understand how big the page is and how many pages there are. And from that, we can figure how wide it's going to be. It's going to be twice the width of the page, and it's going to be at least half as long as the height. Oh my goodness. let's dig into the math. I figured this out earlier, so let me just explain it as we go, because I don't even know if I can hold it in my head. So what we're going to do is we're going to need to get the page size, and we haven't got that yet. So we need something to figure out what the size of these darn pages are. And this is where we imported the pillow image. Let's actually do this in the constructor, because we're only going to need to call this page size once. Let's just do it up here in the initialize. So self, we're going to say page size. Okay, it's going to be equal to, and since we already have a list of the file names, we can go ahead and use that because it's all right there in the init function. So we're going to say image dot open. So we're going to open the very first image. Okay, open f string pages, oops, slash, and we're going to say, this one's going to get a little long. Maybe we'll give us a little bit more space. So we just want the first file name. Just the first one from the list should be just fine. So we're going to say self dot file name. That's we got, and we're just going to get the whoops. We're going to hit the very first one. All right, and we will open it. So we're going to open the very first file name, okay, and then we're just going to call dot size on that. So that's going to return the width and height of the page. So that's going to be all the information we need right there in page size. So it's a little bit complicated. But basically we're taking the very first image in the list that we created. So we found all the names, we sorted them, and then we're getting the very first one. We're going to open that image just so we can get the size property out of that, the X and Y, the height and the width out of that page size. And we're going to have to do that one time. So now the class now has that page size, so we can go ahead and use that down here. So we are going to say, and I have to get back to my notes over here. Right, so we're going to do what's called tuple unpacking. It comes in a tuple. The size is a tuple of the height and width and height, sorry. So width, ID, T8, and height. Okay, so width, comma, height is going to be equal to self, okay, dot page size, the one we created up in the initialize function. So it's going to put those two values into our width and height so we can use them. Now, chapter width. So we're going to need to know how big the chapter is. The image of the chapter is CHAPTR. Yep, chapter width is not width. Oh, my fingers. Chapter width is going to be equal to width times 2. Okay. So width times 2 is going to be because the first two pages will be laid out side by side, just like you opened a book. It'll be the width of each page times 2. So, and then we're going to chapter height is going to be equal to, and this is where it's going to get a little bit trickier. So we're going to need, this is where we're going to use the math, some of these math functions. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to say page count, okay, that we got up here. So how many pages are in the chapter? We're going to divide that by 2, okay, and let's wrap all these in parentheses, and times the height. Okay, so, but what we want to do is, if we have an odd number of pages, we're going to need to make sure that the page is Obviously, we can't have a half a page. That wouldn't do us any good. So page count divided by 2 might give us like a weird half page. So this is where we're going to use the math SEIL function, S-E-I-L. So it's going to round whatever number it gets up, no matter what. So if there's a half page, it's going to round it up. So we don't have a half page at the bottom. We have an extra page, enough to hold the one page, and then the other side is just going to be blank, times the height of each page. So that is where we're getting our chapter height, the total height of the whole chapter image. Okay, and return. We're going to return, and we're going to return a tuple, height and width. It just works out really nice for images and stuff. So we're going to return chapter width and chapter height. So there's a fair bit there, but that's basically what we're doing. Is based on the page count. We figured out the page size, and then we can calculate how big that image is going to need to be to hold all of the pages for our chapter. So we'll call that from over here. We're going to say chapter size is going to be equal to get. Oh, no. T-I-C-H Stitcher dot get chapter size. Okay, we're going to pass that to page count. Well, it's not page count over here. It's number of pages. So we call this num pages. Okay, that is that guy. And now, after all that, gathering all this is just to get the information that we need to do the thing that we need to do. So after all that, we're going to go ahead and create a function that's going to stitch all these things together. Actually, we're going to need one more. We're going to need one more function as well, though. We'll build that as we go. But let's start with the create chapter. So we're going to call this create chapter. And this guy is going to take self, as all these do, because it's a class. It's going to take the page names. Okay. It's going to take the chapter size. Those are the coordinates we just got. And page names is going to be the list, I believe, if I remember how I did this. Chapter size, that's going to be the height and width of the image that we need. And it's also going to take the chapter number. So that's just whatever we called the chapters. So chapter 1, whatever. It actually technically could be a name, but so we're going to create this chapter. We're going to do for count and page in enumerate the, what are we going to enumerate? The page names. Okay, so we're going to go through all the page names. Enumerate again is going to return two values. It's going to return the index and the value of the page names in this case. So we are going to go ahead and open. So we'll do a width open. Now, width is a context manager. Really handy when you're opening files, writing files, and then it takes care of all the closing and things for you. So you don't get a file stuck. So width are really, really handy. So width open. We'll do an f string. We're going to say pages. So that's the folder they're in. We're going to say page. That's the value of the page names list. Page. Oh, we want to insert it though as a variable. There we go. So we're going to width open the page as, what do we call this? Page image. All right. Because it's a picture. So we're opening the first page in the list, and we want to do, my bad, image.open. Now this is from the Pillow library, so we're going to open the image. It's not a file. If it was like a text file, then we just do open, but in this case it's a picture, so we want to use the image library to open that. So image.open, my mistake, sorry about that. And we're going to say chapter Okay. And chapter is not been created yet. Oh boy, okay, we'll have to create that in just a minute. Chapter is going to represent the image that we have created. So chapter dot, actually let's just do that right now. Less confusing. All right, we are going to create the full image. So we're going to call this thing chapter. All right, and we're going to say image. Totally forgot this bit. New, so we're creating a brand new image. RGB, okay, this is how we're going to create this. And the that is the mode that we are creating it in, and we're going to call it chapter size. Now that's that tuple of width and height, which should be the width of 2 pages and the height of half of all the pages rounded up. So we are creating a new image called chapter. Okay, now we can use that, and what we're going to do is now sort of say chapter dot paste. Okay, so we are pasting the page image into the chapter. All right, page image. All right, and then we're gonna say, and this is where we're gonna need to figure out where we're gonna need to get the coordinates of where to put that page number. So the paste function puts it somewhere, but we have to tell it where to put the image. If we put them all in the same spot, then they just overlap each other, and that wouldn't work. So we're going to create another function in just a minute called get open page position. It's a lot of words, but it's descriptive. Count. And this is why we had to get the count from the page names. So basically, every other page is going to be in a different width position. So the first one is going to be on the very left side, and then the second page, the even page, is going to be that width. It's starting at the width and then moving from there. So and then the height will drop down a row, and then it'll be the same thing. The width starts at the edge, and then the even numbered page will be the next one over from that. So that's where we're going to need to use the count here, and we're going to pass that. So before we go any further, let's just go ahead and create that function. I know I'm jumping around all over the place today. My apologies, but we will get that. So we're going to do just a bit more math. I think this is the last of the math that we're going to have to do. So, but we have to calculate these things. So we're going to get open page position, what we called that. Okay, and we're going to do a self because it's a class, and we're going to do the count, and we're going to pass in. And again, we're going to know the where it's at on the width based on whether it's an even or odd page. So we're going to do width and height from self dot page size. So that's the one again we used before. So we're just reusing that same one again. That's why we put it up in the init, so we can keep using that over and over again. All right, next we're going to get page height. Page height, and this one, that's probably a terrible name. It's the page height position. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a floor round on the count divided by 2 times the height. Okay, and that's going to give us, based on the count, that's how many we have. So 1 and 2, and then we're going to move down, and we're going to move down. That height's going to be variable based on the count. That's why we had to divide that. You could also, instead of using the math module, you could also do a double slash to floor round, but whatever. We've already got the math module imported, so that's going to give us our page height. And then now we're going to need to do the width is going to be different, again, whether it's the first one on that line or the second one on that line. So we're going to say if count mod 2. So if you've never seen this, Google FizzBuzz. This is something you use in FizzBuzz, but modulus 2 is basically just going to give you the remainder of the division. So if you divide whatever it is by 2 and it comes out 0, that's going to be an even number thing. So number. So we're going to return, okay, a tuple with the coordinates that we need. So, and sorry, my daughter's singing behind me, but we'll carry on here. So we're going to return 0 and the page height that we calculated. Otherwise, we're going to return a tuple of the width, okay, we got from the page size, and page height. That should be correct. So that should allow us to, based on the count, it's going to calculate where at the height is, and also the width, if it's an even or it's an odd. I had to screw with this math. I'm not the best math guy, but this math should work. So get open page position is going to return to us those position variables based on the count here. So, and we're going to use that right here. Jumping back to our other function, we're going to paste the image that we had into this chapter image that we created at this position. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. That's a lot of stuff to do. And then once we've cycled through all that, and we enumerated through all the page names that we want to do, we're going to save that chapter image. So chapter.save. Oh, get off my screen, yo. And we're going to call this chapters. We're going to have to create a chapters folder too, so let's store this. Chapters / chapter. And what was the chapter that we're creating? Chapter number. This is what was passed in that the user supplied. .jpg. We can just do this as another JPEG. So, oh, that was so much stuff. But basically, we're saving this this chapter image that we created, where we pasted all these individual images into it as the one big chapter image. Now we do need to create the chapter folder to store that in. Not here though. Okay. Oh my goodness. Stop. Let's create another folder called chapters. All right. That is where that image is going to be stored. All right, that should be it for that. Now, I will say there is a chance that as you're looping through, there might be a file missing, okay? So let's say your chapter is pages 10 to 20, and somebody deleted page 12. 12 is gone. I don't know why. It got corrupted. It's disappeared. It doesn't matter. So when this is looping through, that image is going to try to open page 12, but it's not going to find it, and it's either going to crash the program, which is not good, or we can stick this thing in a try block, which is what we're going to do here. It's just one last little, just makes it a little nicer for the user if we can throw this into a try block. So we're just going to indent all those one. We're going to try to do these things. If it doesn't work, we're going to accept. It would be a file not found error. File not found. Actually, we don't need to return that error message, but we can just tell the user, hey, look, that didn't work. So I'm just going to tell the user there was an issue with the pages you selected. Selected. I'm just going to give him a little hint. Are you missing a page? And then we're just going to say, okay, not much we can do here. We can't really recover from this, so we're just going to say, please check your files and try again. Now the user won't say, what the heck, it just crashed, what's going on? But we're going to crash. So we're just going to call exit. This is from the OS module. And we're just going to get out of the program. There's nothing we can do if the file's missing. Like, this is not the part of the program that we can do anything with that. That happened before or outside of our control. So we're just going to do a try except there, and we're just going to tell them you're probably missing a file. Something went wrong. Check them and try to run this program again. So these are kind of heady functions, but that should set us up. Now we can create the chapter with all those pages, create the image, and save the image to the chapters thing. So that's what we're going to do now. Is we're going to go ahead and call that guy in our main program over here. So we're going to say Stitcher dot, what do we call that guy? Create chapter, right? Create chapter, and we're gonna have to pass it in all the things. All right, so page names. That was the page. I think I named these kind of terrible, so this would be the page number list. Yeah, that was probably a really bad name. Don't name your stuff that way. Page number list. What else do we need to pass in? So chapter size. That's going to be the number of pages. Wow, I really didn't think this through very well. Oh, no. Chapter. I did have chapter size. Okay. So chapter size. And lastly, the chapter number. That's what we called the chapter, or the user called the chapter. So we got those 3 bits of information. It's going to go ahead and create the chapter. That's going to do all the work. That's going to do create the image, save the image, do all that stuff. And then that's it. But you may be wondering, why did we stick this in a loop here? So my idea here is that we can continue to allow the user to keep entering page numbers in if they have a bunch of different chapters they want to create at once. So we're going to go ahead and say another is going to be yeah, I spelled that right. We're going to say input from the user, and we're going to say, would you like to create another chapter? And we're just going to do y/n, just to let the user know that's what we're expecting from them. Oh, that's terrible. There. Now let's space it. There we go. That looks better. All right, so we're gonna say, hey, do you want to do another chapter? And so they can say either yes or no. That's gonna get saved into another. And we're gonna say if another is not in. Okay, and we're gonna just give it a tuple. I could give it a list. Doesn't really matter. Either little y, comma, big Y. So basically, what I'm saying is, if the value that comes back from the user is anything except for a little y or a big Y, okay, then we're going to be done. Then we're going to say pro proceed equals false, and then we're just going to say thanks. Exiting program. Totally unnecessary line here, but just to give the user some feedback. Again, it's just a little nicer experience when you can do that. And if it is Y or big Y, then it's just going to fall through and it's going to proceed, go back to the start of the loop, and it's going to loop and it's going to do it all over again. Okay, folks, that was a lot of stuff. So let's test this thing and see if we made a mistake. See if this actually works. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I need to figure out what is the number of the first chapter, the first page number, and the last page number. So I'm going to just look at what I've got for my pages. And I should be able to... All right, there's part 1. I think part 1 the same as chapter 1? No, it's not. Okay. So we're going to say chapter 1. We're going to call this chapter 1's page 19. Oh, these are very short chapters. Okay, so it's going to go 19 to 24 is going to be the whole chapter there. So let's run our Python program, page stitch, and it's going to say, what is the name of this chapter? It's going to just be chapter 1. We're going to have to do this in the terminal. Okay, we're going to run this. We're going to run this way. So just page Python page stitch stich.py. Oh, we'll run it from here. What is the name of this chapter? Now it could be a word, could be letters, index, whatever. We're just going to put a number 1. Please enter the first page, and we determine the first page is going to be page 19. Please enter the last page of chapter 1. That is going to be 25. And that's it. Oh boy, that was really fast. I'm used to doing bigger chapters than this. Let's see what we got in chapters. Look at that. It created our entire chapter. Oh, looks like we got one too many pages though, so it's a good thing we're testing this. Would like to create another chapter? No. And let's fix our code, folks. Where would that be? That would be first and last. I wonder if we went one too far, one too many on last. Or did we just enter it wrong? Oh, you know what? It actually worked exactly like it was supposed to. I entered the last page of the chapter, which is actually the first page of the next chapter. So, no, it actually worked exactly like it's supposed to. So let's delete chapter 1. Let's try that again. And we're going to just run up. What is the name of this chapter? Chapter 1. Now, we did put a check in here. So if the if we enter something goofy like 0, you say, I'm sorry, page 0 doesn't exist. Well, what about page whatever? No, that doesn't exist. So it's just going to keep trying, because if you're putting in garbage, it's going to look for that file, and it doesn't exist. So we're going to say page, what do we figure? 19. And then enter the last page, and that is going to be 24, not 25. And that's it. Boom. Made chapter here. And you can see that's the whole chapter. And then do you want to do another one? Yeah, we could do another one. We say yes. All right, what's the name of this chapter? Chapter 2. Then we're going to say this will be actually 25. Page 25. And I'm not sure where the next chapter would be. These aren't very long. 31. So we're going to say chapter, page 31. And I don't want to create anymore. I think that's good for now. But you can go through the whole book. Now we have chapter 2 in here. And this is an example of one that has an odd number of pages. So it just leaves a blank space for us down here. And again, as I've shown before, you can then take these chapters and then you can drag them right into OneNote. So say we're going to say chapter. We're going to start this guy over. We're going to delete this. Delete and chapter. We're going to get rid of this one from last time. Okay, get rid of all that stuff that we did last go around, and we're just going to say, hey, chapter, archive demo, chapters. Here we go. That's what we want. I'm just going to drag this over to chapter 1. Boom, just like that. Now we've got the whole chapter perfectly seamed together in here. And then we go say chapter 2. Perfect. And we're going to drag chapter 2 into here. One shot. Whole chapter. And I find this just a tremendous way to study anything that I wanted to study. I just bring these in and I can highlight them and I can make notes. I can do whatever study stuff I want. And I know this has been a long road to get here, but once this is all built, then you've got your book archiver that you built. You've got your position thing, which actually you can use that on several other projects if you have other automation things you want to do and find out position, screen position. We also built this this handy little stitcher program that stitches things together, and you can actually modify this in a way that you could stitch other types of images together as well. You've got the kind of the concept, the framework of how to do that. All right, and that is all I've got for this project. This has been it's been a bit long, a bit rambling, and a little bit scattered, but hopefully you learned a few things. Hopefully you built something kind of cool, and maybe you can use this to archive your books and get them into OneNote, or do whatever you want with it. You can actually use this to stitch together any kind of images. The concepts are all here. You can just modify it to do whatever you want with it. So hopefully you learned a little something. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and that is all for me. So thank you very much for watching.